Just like to welcome everybody here. We are full except for Mike Moore, who clearly is running a bit late. So, Debbie, would you like to open with our prayer? Thank you.
Oh, no one feels like standing. O God, our Creator, bless us as we gather today for this meeting. Guide our minds and hearts so that we would work for the good of our community and help all your people. Teach us to be generous in our outlook, courageous in face of difficulty, and wise in our decisions. We ask this grace through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Any apologies? We only have Mike missing anyway. Any notices before we commence? No notices? So since we don't have anything to move there, we'll move to item 2. Any increased or developed conflict of interests since our last meeting? I doubt very much.
Mr. Chair, I think it might be prudent of myself to declare that my employer, HOHEPA, is in discussions with a small contract of under $5,000 for work on the typo stream.
Okay, thanks for that. We will declare that. Okay, if there's no other conflict of interest, we'll move to the confirmation of last minutes. It was a pretty simple meeting, and you will have all read basically you will have all read it, but we'll just go through just for process. Page 2 for correction, 2, 3.
Chair?
Yes.
Just on page 2.
Yeah, we're getting a bit of feedback here. You'll echo around the room.
We're right now, eh? Certainly the Ombudsman piece, yeah.
We will make that correction to the minutes. Did you get that, Leanne?
No.
We're going to record that just repeat that again, Fenton.
Councillor Hewitt had volunteered her emails.
That's great.
And
As per the Lagoima request.
as per the Lagoima request,
From Councillor
she'd
Belford.
agreed to it from Councillor Belford, but more importantly, Councillor Belford had taken that issue to the Ombudsman. The the initial refusal to supply the emails because they were of a vexatious, what was the term? Vexatious nature. That's it.
We might leave vexatious out.
No. That should stay out. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Was that you, Sophie? Thank you.
No, that's
Councillor Barker's still on island by the sound of that.
Okay, you get that, Sophie?
So, can I just, under matters arising?
Yes. No, matters under the...
Correction, actually.
Correction to the...
Yes.
Item 4. Win the game.
So, very simply,
We note.
Councillor Hewitt had volunteered her emails as per the request, but more importantly, well, not more importantly, you wouldn't put that in, and just a second bullet point note, Councillor Belford had taken that complaint to the Ombudsman.
Okay.
Importantly, I had noted that the ombudsman had replied to me that they had not received what they considered a complete official response from this council regarding my situation.
That might be matters arising because it wasn't discussed at the last meeting.
Sorry, but can I just interrupt? Sorry, but we're talking about two different things here. So there was two requests. One's been taken to the Ombudsman. I'm not aware of the other having been taken to the Ombudsman. So, Liz?
Can I clarify then? So if you're talking about two separate matters, there was a Lagoima request made to seek some email correspondence of Councillor Belford in the first instance. That issue has subsequently been taken to the Ombudsman, who is conducting an investigation. Then there was a second Lagoima request for Councillor Hewitt's emails, and that has also been taken to the Ombudsman. So the response or the comment from the Ombudsman that they haven't yet received an official reply, is that in relation to which one, Councillor Belford? To your complaint or to your Lagoima request?
To Mr. Butler's.
Right, okay. Okay, because we have responded several times to the Ombudsman, so I'll follow that up.
But that's a separate issue.
Yes.
With respect to the issue. That's a separate issue with respect to Councillor Belford's request that item be noted in the minutes with the other two comments. As long as we're clear about that. He's not saying that it's not, therefore, not necessarily saying it's true in substance and fact, but that's what he said.
No, it's just what was on the minutes, what was discussed though. If we can get that clear. Okay, right, crikey. So page 3 for corrections. Page 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,
12.
12.
Chair, just that you had agreed that we would, under the Maori Committee, we would have a discussion around the fees.
What point is that, Councillor?
Number 10.
Number 10, Maori Committee. Okay, well, then we need to add that in. I do recall that. So we need to add in there,
10.3?
yeah, 10.3. It was agreed to have a discussion around fees involved in the Maori Committee. Yeah, it might be remuneration, might be a better word, around remunerations in the Maori Committee. $13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18, 19 and 20, it's a novel. 21, 22, 23 and 24, including the minor items.
And 25. Just with my agenda item 3, this sort of reads quite differently to what I had said. I was disappointed that CHB DC gravel extraction was allowed in the Toki when I just cross out lower Toki because it wasn't the lower Toki where the extraction was, and resulted from extraction 5 k's upstream. Because it makes it sound like it was a long way apart, but it actually wasn't.
But actually a short part, yeah. Can we make that change? 5 k's. Wow. given those and accepting those changes, do we have someone to move that the minutes are correct? Or do you want those changes read back to you? No? Councillor Barker, do we have a seconder? Councillor Bevan, seconds. All those in favour, we accept the minutes with the, I think we should say with the corrections as amended. All those in favour, aye. All those in favour, yeah, do I go? Yep. Against, passed. Okay, follow-ups from the previous agenda. Yeah, no, we've done that as we went through, I think, yeah. Well, actually, I will just actually go back, sorry, thanks for that. Are there any matters arising that are not in this agenda that needs to be? Yes, Peter?
Thanks, Chair. It's just the first matter arising on the list there, which is the Lagoima request. I've had a conversation with Andrew and Liz about this, and the Lagoima request that's causing great difficulty, it seems to me, is the Lagoima request in respect of councillors and councillor-held information. And I think it places staff under their delegated authority in an invidious position, having to make rulings and ask for information from councillors and so forth. And I think that if we're going to have a delegation for that, it should more properly sit with the chair than with staff members who should not be placed in that position, in my view. And I'd like to see us consider the possibility that in respect of Lagoima requests on councillors, that delegated authority rest with the chair.
I think that's actually really right. So, currently what happens is that a Lagoima request comes on a councillor, you guys have to deal with it. Is that right?
That's correct. We have certain provisions under the Lagoima Act around which, then they're quite categorical ones about whether or not a request can be declined. The presumption in the Act is that information is provided, and there are a limited number of grounds for declining the request. Can I ask Mrs. Hooper? She's got the little Lagoima Bible there next to her, so maybe she might want to follow that up with the suggestion you were talking about earlier today, Leanne.
So I know there's quite a bit of there's a lot involved in Lagoima and how we're meant to meet our requirements. So I was going to ask council whether they might like to have, first of all, I've got like the Bible from the Ombudsman's office, and whether I should put that onto the portal so that councillors are able to do that. Also, I've had an offer from the Ombudsman's office to come and have a workshop with councillors early in the new year, if they wanted to do that, just so that you can talk through the issues and who has responsibility for what under the Lagoima Act, because as far as I'm aware, it is the actual council that has the responsibilities under Lagoima. Not the councillors, but the actual local authority.
Yeah, but sorry, Leanne, my view on that would probably be, subject to having that clarified, would be that the councillors are the council.
Well, that's exactly the point I was going to make, is Leanne tries to distinguish between the council and the councillors, which is a little bit trying to distinguish the difference between a trust and the trustees. The trustees are the trust. They are indivisible, inseparable. And my view is that when it comes to the matters of the council, it's the councillors represent the council, and we delegate responsibilities. But put that aside, I have had some experience of the Official Information Act on all angles. I've read many books on it, and I welcome the suggestion of them coming here to have a discussion with us about it before we make the next step. I accept the motivation that Peter's made to how to resolve this, and he's identified a really important point, but there's another principle that's running here, is we need to go back to why the Local Government Official Information Act came into being. It was that councils were very restrictive in what they decided to release or not. And this, with the Official Information Act, is seen as one of the key foundations of our democratic institutions, openness and transparency. And the reason for being doing this was to remove the politics from it and to make it a simple process thing. Now, therein lies our problem, our dilemma. So by suggesting it goes back to the chair, we're then bringing it back over the line into the realm of politics more than just administration. But there is an issue here about what is available to the public by way of what individual councillors do and what is council business. So this line is very fuzzy. And that's the point that I think has been raised by Councillor Belford in the request that's been made of him. He says this is more about him and what he does rather than what is strictly council business. This is a grey line, and I think we do need to spend some time to plumb exactly where it is. But we have to be fair to all parties. So I would welcome the suggestion that we have the workshop, and at the end of that, we then sit down and figure out what we can do and make some suggestions about a proper policy arrangement for it. It'd be great.
I think, are you willing to endorse that, Councillor, that we get someone in and have a chat to us about that, or do you have something else?
I have a different
Okay.
view. I mean, I'm not opposed to that, but meantime, while we're preparing for the grand poobah to arrive, I have a pending situation, and what I have asked repeatedly is for some process that would determine whether I was aligned with a view of the council in terms of my reply or non-reply to the Butler request. And so we seem to be in this never land of who's responding. Am I doing this purely as an individual? Am I doing this reflecting a considered view by the council as to what my position should be, or any councillor's position should be in like circumstance? And what I have suggested a number of times now is that any councillor around this table could be faced with such a request, and people need to think through what that actually involves and entails. And I would submit that the council ought to have some view on the matter. But meantime, as I say, meantime, I'm freelancing my view, and meantime, the Ombudsman is in contact, I take it, with the council, who is saying whatever the council is saying, the staff, i.e., and we're not engaging around the issue.
Yeah, no, it's a big issue. I don't think it's one we can discuss now, but I as you know, I strongly sympathise with your view fundamentally, but I also sympathise with the issue you've just raised, that we're not dealing with it. So perhaps we might find some time this afternoon to actually have a good round table and deal with this issue once and for all. In the meantime, I do suggest that we do invite, I won't use Councillor Belford's words, the grand fellow, and that might help us develop our view, what we can do legally. So let's just set up a time when that can occur. Okay, any other matters arising? Otherwise, we'll move on to our follow-ups from the previous agenda. I just want to make a comment on those. I mean, when I read these things, it is the cost of democracy, I know, as Councillor Barker pointed out, but some of these are arduous and it's almost time-consuming. Yeah.
Chairman, can I say on behalf of staff, we'd be quite happy to cut bureaucracy out for you.
It's some people push it to the limit, and there's a little bit of abuse going on, really. So that has to come into the discussion too. So in the meantime, James, are you going to take us through that, or you?
Oh, just take questions.
Yeah.
Take it as read and ask questions.
Yes, Paul.
One more comment from the follow-ups, Mr. Chair, probably for James, is you've suggested we can make suggestions as to what should be on the agenda for the water symposium. Have you got a cut-off time for that?
Certainly not in terms of content. One thing that we would like a little bit of feedback on is whether there is genuine enthusiasm from councillors for us to press on with planning. We would want to book a venue and start getting things underway prior to Christmas, but we also recognise that early in the new year, particularly February, we'll still have the Havant North Water Inquiry running, and that there's bound to be plenty on. So if you're of the view that we need to expedite this, given the huge amount of interest in water management issues in the region at the moment, then we'll sort of work towards a February date. But if you think that it's less pressing, then we'll look to push it.
Can I suggest that we go through these one at a time? Could we get to that? So James, if you could lead us through, or Andrew, you can lead us through, because there are a few things that people might.
Okay.
Can I suggest, rather than us reading them out to you, that
do exactly
we
what
take
we
it as read, we take this paper as read, and if you've got specific questions item by item, raise them and we'll deal with them in that process.
So okay, then following up on Paul's thing, are you going to do that? You cancelled that date on the 15th.
That's right.
Correct, we have. So we're now looking at the new year. Circulated in the papers was the draft we were working to.
Yeah.
So there's no urgency for feedback on the content. I'd say sort of by Christmas would be helpful from councillors that come back to us and come back to me individually on that. But it would be helpful to know today whether or not you're of a view that we should press on for February, or is there no urgency around this?
Okay, can I have a whip round? Who thinks we should do this water symposium and it'll be February? Al? At the earliest. What? Debbie? Yes or no?
I'm happy to know.
So-
Sorry, I'm happy to delay.
But do you want to do it?
Yes.
But you want to do it? Want to do it? Delay and do it? Okay, I think that's fair enough. I want to. Oh, delay and reshape. You'll have to have a little chat to me. No, and we definitely agree on do it.
Yep.
And we've agreed on delay, and you might have to have a chat to Neil because he's got some ideas to put in there. But you're sort of thinking on the same theme that that original oil one that Lawrence did a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago. That was very successful.
Building on that, certainly.
Yeah, but on that kind of concept.
We'll send something out via email and perhaps do it offline, and all
Yeah.
councillors can feedback their views over the next month.
Okay. Any other issues in these follow-ups that is catching councillors' eye for comment?
I would note, Chairman, the vast majority of items on this are in hand. In other words, they're ongoing issues that have either been through a committee agenda or they're scheduled for a council agenda.
Okay, do we have a mover to receive the follow-ups? Councillor, seconded. Do I speak? No one wants to speak? Okay, all those in favour? Aye. It's passed. 5. Call for minor items on the agenda. Whakaemi. Is that Wara, is it? Okay. Councillor Balford?
Electric vehicles.
Electric vehicles. No other follow-ups. So we have 2. That's good. One more.
The RMA bill.
RMA bill. We will move to, we'll just do those follow-ups. We'll move